How do you prepare for a typical manual testing interview? There are 10 points that you need to keep in mind, and we are going to discuss them in just one moment. However, there is one major question that every student is asked, well, at least everyone that I know, during the manual testing interview. And that question is, please describe your typical day. I'm going to leave this discussion for now, and I'm going to return to that in just a moment. But let's go back to those 10 points. What are they? Well, the first point in the manual testing interview is obviously going to be about understanding manual testing concepts and methodologies. That is very important. The second one are common testing tools. The third one is how would you practice test case writing, right? And then, of course, another point that is very important is to study common interview questions. And those are also very important, and we're going to discuss them. And then you should be able to demonstrate problem solving and analytical thinking. And there are additional technical points that you should also keep in mind, such as reviewing basic SQL. No, you don't have to be an expert in SQL databases or language or anything else, but as a tester, you have to demonstrate certain knowledge. And also another point, this is the seventh one, is understanding agile methodology. Well, you have to demonstrate a knowledge of the software development lifecycle and how you communicate with your colleagues. Another major point is you should be able to demonstrate how you practice communication skills. And obviously, it's very important to know how you conduct interviews and what kind of interviews technique you've studied and how you can handle interviews. And also the 10th point that you need to keep in mind is that you need to prepare yourself for questions that are coming from the interviewer, from your potential employer. And also, you should prepare your own questions to them. That is very important. And now let's discuss all that in much greater details, right? And we are going to start with understanding of the testing concepts and methodologies. So the key topics there would be software development lifecycle, as it's applicable to the testing. Well, and obviously you should be knowledgeable about the software testing life cycle, types of testing, test case writing, bug life cycle, test plans and strategies. Those are very important, and obviously types of testing. The second point is learn common testing tools. And you have to demonstrate the knowledge of Jira or Bugzilla or any other tool that you've been using. You could be asked about Postman and basic understanding of API testing. And well, it's not a big secret that some corporations are not using any tools other than Microsoft Excel. So you should demonstrate your knowledge around Microsoft Excel as well. Again, in the capacity of a tester, you don't have to be an expert in formatting or something like that. So, and You should be able to demonstrate your skills in writing test cases. So you should be prepared for to write a test case in front of the people who interview you. For example, they may ask you, how would you test a calculator or an ATM machine? So you should be able to prepare for those questions as well. And of course, the fourth point that I would like to discuss is to study common interview questions. And they could be very general in nature, such as what is manual testing and or what kind of different types of software testing and so forth. Or they might be scenario-based questions. How would you test an online banking system login page? I mean, they might be very specific. Or how do you prioritize test cases? Or what makes the bug report effective, right? Or something to that nature. The next point, the fifth one, prepare for problem solving and analytical thinking. Well, interviewers may test your problem solving skills. So for that reason, they are going to use scenario-based questions, the one that I've just mentioned. So you should practice those, and you should be able to systematically and logically answer those questions and explain your way of thinking. And of course, the sixth point is that you need to review your basic SQL skills. You might be asked to write a simple query to fetch the data from the database using certain select statements and certain parameters. So these are very basics, and we teach every student on our course how to do it. I mean, it shouldn't be very, very hard, right? And the next point is point number 7, understanding agile methodology. Well, again, the majority of companies out there are using agile software development methodology. So you should be able to demonstrate your familiarity with agile and Scrum and how testing fits into those into that methodology, and you should explain how you handle sprints and what did you do during the stand-up meetings, and what was your role with sprint planning and retrospectives and ceremonies and Scrum ceremonies and what not, right? So the more you demonstrate your involvement into the software development lifecycle and how you communicated and interacted with your colleagues, the better. I mean, that would signal that you are actually capable tester, right? And of course, the next point, point number 8, is that you should practice your communication skills. You should, and that includes bug reporting and team collaboration and many other things. I mean, in essence, a software tester is a bearer of bad news, so to speak. So you should be able to demonstrate how you tactfully and diplomatically approach the subject and how you breach bug reports and whatnot, and issues that you detected and uncovered to your colleagues. So that is very important as well. And of course, the next point number 9, are mock interviews. You should actually prepare for the upcoming interviews by conducting mock-up interviews. And for that reason, to that end, you can solicit the help of professionals, professional recruiters, professional engineers, hiring managers to help you train, or if you are studying with a school like ours, we do provide that as a part of the training course. And we do have professional recruiters and hiring managers who are coming and train students and conducting mock-up interviews with them to get them familiar with the interview formats and setup and everything else. So also there are AI tools out there on the web. Some of them are charging money for their services. Some of them provide some freebies where you can sit in front of your computer and your computer camera and conduct the mock-up interview and then give you a feedback, right? So, and the final point is the point number 10, you should prepare your questions for the interviewer. The interview is not an interrogation, it's a two-way street, and you should be able to ask questions about the company, about their processes, how do they do testing. So the more you ask and the more professionally you sound, the better it's going to characterize your skill set and make them to decide whether they would like to hire you. So, but then let's return to what we started this video with. One major point and one major question that every student is asked is that to describe their typical day. The companies are doing that because this is the most reliable way to verify if indeed you had experience and you know your craft and you know your occupation and your duties. So be prepared to describe your typical day as a tester. How do you start it? And some companies, believe it or not, would like to hear tiny details, like I start my day by going to the lunchroom, getting myself coffee, and then I come back to my desk, and then we have a stand-up meeting and so forth. Yes, sometimes they would like to hear these granular details. And with this, I would say, if you remember all these 10 points, if you prepare yourself, if you know how to describe your typical day, then most likely you would have a very successful interview as a manual tester. And I wish you good luck, and I wish you to find the best job that is out there. What is the role of a manual tester? Well, obviously, a tester plays a crucial role in the software development life cycle and ensures quality. And the job of a software tester is to identify defects, bugs, and report them. So, but what is the particular role that they play in that occupation? Well, it goes like that. They have to do the test case writing, creation. In other words, they write detailed test cases covering various scenarios, whether like positive scenarios, boundary scenarios. Obviously, they have to do test executions, manually execute tests and verify software functionality. They have to do bug reporting. After all, it's their job and responsibilities to identify bugs, defects in the software. It's one of the main functions. So they have to identify, document, and report bugs using the tracking tools such as Jira or whatever the company is using. It could be Microsoft Excel, tables, spreadsheets, that sort of thing. So they have to do regression testing. In other words, they retest fixed bugs and ensure that new updates do not affect existing features. That is very important as well. They have to do usability tests, usability testing. They have to test from a user perspective. In other words, put themselves in the user's shoes and test the user interface, UA, UX, and provide feedback. That is very important. And a good tester have to be able to collaborate. Collaboration is extremely important. You have to communicate with developers, stakeholders, project managers to clarify requirements, resolve issues, and many other things. They have to test documentation, that is also very important, record testing activities, results, and maintain clear records. Also, a good tester should do exploratory testing. In other words, perform ad hoc testing to find issues beyond test cases. Go and explore. Exploratory testing is extremely important because this way you can uncover defects that nobody foreseen and report them and make the product better. It improves quality. After all, it's all about quality. Well, obviously, they are responsible for quality assurance and ensure software meets business requirements and it's pretty much ready to be released. And of course, testers test environment setup, configure and manage test environments and whatever is involved in the test environment on the particular project. And finally, they need to do test planning and contribute to planning and estimating manual testing efforts. So those are very important for the testers, and that makes them successful. And they need to have certain skills such as attention to details, common sense, great communications, familiarity. They have to be familiar with the testing tools. Familiarity is very important, and basic SQL knowledge. Those are the major things that major skills that testers should have, and that is exactly what we are teaching at Learnix Center, and that is exactly why our students are successful when they get their jobs. How to explain a manual testing project during the interview and provide a great example? Well, there are obviously formal approaches, and those approaches typically include project overview, your role, testing approach, tools and technologies, challenges that you faced, and the outcome, right? And there are many examples of such projects, and obviously every professional can think of one. When I teach software manual testing to my students, I always bring up a different type of example. An example where the testing project obviously became unsuccessful. And this is a very popular example and well known. It involves nonetheless but the great Fortune 500 company Amazon. And Amazon, many years ago, used to sell only books and electronics. Later, at some point in time, I do believe they decided to sell everything. And they scheduled a particular day when they wanted to do that. And I think it was in April, and on certain day, doesn't matter, it could be April 3rd or 10th or whatever, and they scheduled it at midnight Eastern time, that everything should switch to a new system. And prior to that, when they were selling books and electronics, every product had a very distinct button on their interface. So you click on a particular product, being that a book or a piece of electronics such as a laptop or whatnot, and you had a button that offered you to purchase either a brand new item or a used item. Obviously, there is nothing wrong if you want to save some money and search through the used items and find the item that you like. The problem presented itself, obviously, on that fateful midnight in April when they switched to selling all kinds of products, including disposable products. And guess what? When the users started to come to Amazon.com website and started to use the website, and some of them decided to purchase toilet paper, they were presented with the buy new or used button. Obviously, the news outlets had a field day with that, and everybody was laughing very hard. As you can imagine, no user, no customer would be interested in the used toilet paper or milk for that matter. So the great Amazon was embarrassed, to say the least. So this is why it's very important to test the product thoroughly and accurately and according to the testing methodologies and project management software development life cycle and everything, and observed all the necessary guidelines and instructions. So, and it's very important for every software tester to have common sense and attention to details. Those are very important issues. So again, someone unfortunately failed to observe and adhere to the project guidelines. I'm sure someone was instructed to test how disposable items were supposed to be presented to the end users. But it seems like whoever was testing the user interface and did the usability tests, well, they probably didn't go a thorough job. So again, returning to our great question, how to present a good example of a testing project, I'd like to remind you that it's very important to do the project overview, and emphasize your role, explain the testing approach, tools and technologies, and challenges that you faced, and obviously the outcome. So, and an example could be like I worked on a web-based e-commerce application. It allowed users to browse product, place orders, track deliveries, and the goal was to ensure the platform's stability and usability before release. So, and yes, you may think of Amazon product, Amazon e-commerce website. And you can say that my role was that I was responsible for creating test cases based on the requirements, executing manual test cases for both functional, non-functional testing and reporting bugs. I worked closely with developers to ensure there are no defects, or if defects are found, that they were addressed and retested. And then, of course, I would explain the testing approach, that I perform different types of testing, including functional, smoke, regression, browser compatibility, by the way, is very important because different users are using different browsers. Someone might use Safari, some might use Google Chrome, and whatnot, Brave, and many others, right? So I wrote test cases to verify user registration, login, product search, shopping cart, and payment gateway functionality. I focused on edge cases, negative scenarios, and usability. Usability is very important to ensure comprehensive coverage. And then you mentioned the tools that you use Jira or Excel, and that's how you maintain test cases, and that you also used Postman to test basic API functions. And then the challenges that you faced, that you had a very tight deadline and you had last minute changes in requirements that came from the stakeholders, and how you explain how you overcame that you prioritized critical test cases, collaborated with the developers, and fixed high priority bugs quickly, right? And the outcome. So because of my testing efforts, I helped to uncover several critical bugs, including one with, how the disposable products were presented itself to the users, so, right? Or a critical bug in the payment gateway system. And that could have impacted the users. And after resolving these issues, the product was successfully launched with minimum post-launch defects. So that's how I would present an example of the successful software testing project.